Our group, which Sean is here from my group, includes a group called EdTech, and I'll show you an ecosystem chart. Sean is over the AV team, so the engineering, design, and installation. Our tech support of that is now a totally separate team and a totally separate group. It also includes iLab, which is I call it my pet project, but iLab is the innovation side of the house. So we innovate, and the last 2.5 years we have developed VR, virtual nursing simulations for our nursing department with embedded AI, and it connects to Canvas so that when students complete some sort of record, and it's multiplayer for lack of a better term, and you don't even need to be in the same room. You can talk to each other. It's got audio conferencing built in, and it also the patient and a patient's friend or family member who's there, and when you pick up and talk to the doctor, those are all AI, using OpenAI's APIs to call out and with the question. So instead of a bubble coming up with multiple choice of what question you want to ask the patient, you can actually talk to them. And you can even try to get them sidetracked. And a funny story, we have an MD on campus. He doesn't practice being a medical doctor anymore, but he was an advisor on the project. He speaks Arabic because he's from Egypt. So he came over and I said, speak to it in Arabic. And guess what? It spoke back in Arabic. It was a bug because it wasn't supposed to speak back in the language that the doctor spoke. But anyway, all right. We're going to talk about a vision for classroom and learning experience. And while I was setting up, I met a gentleman here who was part of the last presentation, and they're headed down the same path and probably farther along than we are. We're looking for collaborators on this. Help me dream. I'll tell you where this came from. I'm sorry that you have to follow me around. I do not stand behind podiums very long. 2 years ago, I was at a conference, an AV conference. It wasn't Northwest Met. And there was a panel done by a couple of well-known gentlemen from higher ed in AV. And they had 4 vendors. Some of those vendors are here today up on the stage. So it's a couple years ago. And they were talking about how AI was going to affect this industry, right? And what they thought AI would do. And their answers were all lame from industry. I go, yeah, it was like, oh, it's going to be able to translate and it's going to be able to do audio, which is cool stuff, right? Fix the audio and do what the cool tech does. But I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but that's not a real vision of how AI can help us in the AV world. And that got my wheels a-spinning. And when Northwest Met came to Utah, and this is my first time coming to this conference, and I love it. It's I've enjoyed the sessions. I thought, yeah, I'm going to submit a proposal on that. So let's get started. And interject at any time. You're welcome to challenge me and tell me that's a stupid idea, okay? You will never offend me. I've got thick skin. I work in higher ed. I've had teachers yell at me and stuff. All right. This isn't everything, and it's kind of a different approach, but the world is merging, folks. The AV and the other technologies that teachers and students are interacting with are merging, okay? And so I believe we have to keep that in mind as AV designers and planners, that this is a snapshot of an EdTech ecosystem. Now, it doesn't include everything. But when you look at it, where do students and faculty spend all day in? It's the learning management system. Who's Canvas users here? Your campus have Canvas? Yeah. Blackboard? Blackboard here? D2L? So we're all Canvas, or we don't know? Okay. So that's kind of a center of an ecosystem. But you see, we've got Zoom and Logitech, QSys, and Crestron as our main partners in the technology. And obviously we have like Shure and other AV tools and cameras that we use in our system, but these are the key players. A lot of this is stuff that plugs into the LMS, but guess what? Zoom now plugs into the LMS and is a key element, at least for our campus, of our AV ecosystem. And I'll show you a little bit about that. All right. You heard Ryan say that Ryan is here in Salt Lake City where we are at our Salt Lake campus, but every place you see here, guess what? Big Water's not on here. They left it off, Ryan. I guess the powers to be in statewide don't even know Big Water's got a classroom, right? So we'll have to talk to marketing and say, hey, you left a place off. There's probably more places left off. But this is where Utah State has a presence. And where we have some of these we have faculty and AV techs at. But Ryan, you cover St. George, Cedar City, Panguitch, Kanab, Junction Beaver. Do you do Richfield? You do Ephraim? You do Delta? Nephi? No, you don't do Tooele. Hayden, that's Hayden's territory. We don't let you go there. Okay, where do you go to Wendover? You don't do Castledale, that's over there. So Ryan, where's all your team at? Do you have any team at any of these locations? Yeah, is there any AV techs there? Yeah. Okay, so Utah State is a big operation. This slide is built around Zoom, but we have 30 locations across the state that have classrooms. Some of these state areas have faculty, okay? We have, this was produced at the start of spring semester, 314 academic courses that go out over Zoom room technology to other Zoom rooms. And we came from a Cisco telepresence environment. We started moving over in 2022 after COVID. And we have about 15 Cisco telepresence rooms left that we got to do. And the reason we still have them is just budget, right? It takes money. We currently have 330 Zoom rooms deployed across the state. We have faculty down in Blanding, and they originate classes out of Blanding that go to a lot of these rural sites. They come from Logan, they come from Salt Lake, they come from Vernal. Ephraim, I think Ephraim still has faculty there. Do they still have one faculty left there? So we have faculty across the state. It's not uncommon for students up in Logan where there's 17,000 on-campus students taking a class from a faculty member down below. So you can see our footprint is pretty big, and it's a lot. Anyway, so the cool thing about our Zoom licenses is when we went to Zoom Phone, that changed our licensing. So as many Zoom Phone licenses we have Zoom Room licenses. So we have more Zoom Room licenses than we will ever possibly deploy. But it's opened the way for us to build it. All right. Let's see if the audio works. I didn't test the audio. Come on. Where's the dang play button? Oh, there it is. It's hiding. Anybody seen this? Real Genius? I think this is where we are at. Oops. We're almost there, aren't we? This show's from a couple of decades ago, but we're almost there with what's going on. I want to show you our forte, our first forte, and Jim Welling's here. When he worked at USU, I got to work on this project with him because he was our Crestron guy. And you'll recognize Sean's voice. Sean created this video, but clear back in 2017, 16, we started working on Alexa control for the classroom, long before, even before Crestron did it. And this was our forte. You can think of Alexa is AI. It is, right? It's not the same AI you and I are using today with the large language models, but they trained it to recognize keywords, right? And this was our first forte into a little bit of AI control. Has it got the protection on it? Oh, is that because of PowerPoint? Sorry. I did not extend the display. All right, hold on. Sorry, guys. I think when I launched PowerPoint, it did that. Well, I'll just skip it. We'll show it later. I'm not going to waste your time to do that. I apologize for that. All right, but anyway, we built Alexa to control our Crestron classrooms. And after we got it done and kind of working, our Disability Resource Center reached out to us and asked if that they now had a vision impaired instructor, and asked if we could, how the teacher was going to use the classroom technology. And we said, aha, we have a solution with voice control. And so we hurried up and buttoned it up and made it a little more foolproof, and we put it in the classroom, and it worked. And then we rolled it out to, I think it was about 12 or 15 classrooms, and then COVID hit. Okay, and that kind of ended that. But that was our first forte. So now to the vision, and I need your help to be part of that vision. As we talk about it, I'll give you my thoughts, and then we'll have plenty of time for discussion. I've broken it into two areas, if I thought, and I've changed a little bit of my mindset since being at the show and seeing some of the presentations. This morning I attended the Pepperdine one about their dashboard that they had built to monitor all the AV, and it sounds like there's other schools that have built those things, and they can tell when something's offline. And then we're going to talk about, this is more about the teaching and learning side here, and then this one is AV proactive technology support. How can we use AI to help us be proactive instead of reactive? And I call that self-healing. How can we use AI to make our classroom self-healing? There's nothing more panicky than a faculty member who walks into a classroom, plugs in their laptop, or even brings up the computer that's there, right? You guys all take the calls, and I'll show you our stats for what types of problems those calls come from. They may look similar to you, but I'd like you to share that as well. How do we use AI to build systems that can monitor and self-heal as much as possible? Now, there's some things that AI won't be able to do until we get one of those humanoids that can go out there and, robots that's AI-driven to take care of it for us. But our teams are constantly just running to classrooms to solve problems, okay? So we're going to talk about things in those two areas. All right. Teaching and learning side. Here's my vision. And it first came, anybody ever used the Cisco Spark board? It was a whiteboard, it did there. And as I recall, we had one that we played with. We got an early one. There was an app you put on your phone, and I don't remember if it was a Spark app or if it was WebEx. But when you walked into the room with that board, it knew you were there. And it used that kind of ultrasonic kind of tone that it could ID you. It knew you were there, and up on the screen popped, "Hey, Kevin." I thought, that is cool. And we're talking 10 years ago, folks. Maybe not that long, maybe 8 or 9, but pretty close. And I thought, when a teacher walks into one of our AV classrooms, it should know that they're there. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think, if it knows that that teacher's there, what should it be able to do? What might be something important for that the AI could do to support that instructor? Ideas? Knows the setup that they want, right? Some of our classrooms have multiple monitors, and in the case of a Zoom room, right, we have monitors in the back that they can see their students, and Zoom allows you different kind of layouts for that, like where whoever's speaking appears in a larger box, and it can, it can do all kinds of things. That's a good one. What else? Log them into their LMS account. Yeah. Can you see right there the merging of AV and our other technologies we use in the classroom? Faculty and students are in the LMS all the time. Maybe it could help log them into the computer, because at our campus now, with security and everything, the faculty has to log into the classroom computer. Okay, if they bring their laptop, that's a different story. Which brings me to, the AI might know, hey, this faculty usually brings their own laptop, right? So what might it do there?
Just lower the, just prep the room for like auxiliary.
Yeah, right. Okay. It may or may not switch to it, right? Right off the bat, because some faculty don't want that, right? What else? Any thoughts? How else could AI help a faculty in a classroom?
One thing that I thought is, we know who the students are in the classroom.
Oh.
We have accessibility affordances.
Mm.
They automatically load into that classroom based on losing, or students that are on sports teams that aren't going to be there, right? And say, okay, and because of that, we're going to, you know, audio transcribe this so that they can see that and make sure that so you already put the teaching tools and summaries, but I think that context awareness piece is really interesting.
It's the interesting thought though, if you flip, so if you flip the knowing the instructor to knowing the students, which is, well, we can put a perfect line later, but yeah, but if you knew knowing the students, so if you flip this over, you don't have to do attendance, you don't have to do other pieces of it. If it can know that they're there, it gives you the ability to do some kind of attendance practice, do some kind of, you know, built-in pieces that instructors no longer have to live.
Right. And some of our classes, faculty do take attendance, and at some colleges, especially community colleges, they do quite a bit, more so than I would see at my own university. But yeah, participation, right. And how do they deal with participation and roll call now? They give those pop quizzes, right? The clickers, right? And stuff. I saw a hand. Where did I see that hand? Yeah. You bet you can. Please.
Person presence detection, person identification, setting of custom settings, accessibility profiles.
Okay.
It's all just, you know, the ultrasonic thing that Sparkboard used was not AI.
It was not, no.
So,
Alexa, we wouldn't classify it as AI today.
machine learning.
Right.
Machine learning.
It's got, well, what is AI? A bunch of algorithms and trained data behind it. It's computer code, right? Exactly. I agree, 100%.
And that's what I'm trying to, I am an AI instructor.
Okay.
One of the reasons I think these AI sessions is like, I want to try to get over that. Or not get over that, but like rationalize it a little bit more. And these conversations are great. All those features you mentioned are amazing, but I don't see them as AI.
Okay.
I see them as a technology enhancement.
Good.
Or a convenience feature or a capability feature. I'm just wondering where AI.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, I was out to the UCF Teaching with AI conference, and we presented a tool there, and I was having dinner with a friend who builds mobile apps for Disney. He lives out there, longtime school friend that we've stayed in touch. And we were talking about, AI, and he goes, is it AI or is it just some computer algorithms, right? He's a software developer, and it's true. I mean, there were tracking cameras before they called it AI. Now they all call it AI, right? I agree. It is. Yeah, exactly. So when we talk about AI, we may be talking about what you said, computer enhancement, right, that's developed. I think the AI is making it easier for us to do things, right, because of the learning capability that it has without some serious training, right? No, and I appreciate you being an AI skeptic. I had a colleague in IT who, in his signature, was an internet skeptic, right? He worked in security. But thank you for that, and I appreciate that. Okay, back to the student thing. We just built a tool, and we'll come to Jim. We just built a tool to go into the LMS to provide, the idea came from our Disability Resource Center, because we have faculty that have a couple hundred students in their class, or they got 2 or 3 classes. Just keeping track of these emails they get from the Disability Resource Center about students who have accommodations, right? So we built a tool that that now is in Canvas for the teacher can click on the tool and it loads in the students who have an accommodation and what that accommodation is, and they can hover over it and get the definition of what it means for that particular accommodation. There's 50 different accommodations these disability resource centers have for these students. A faculty can never keep track of it. But John, I think you hit something I hadn't thought about there, because you know, the assisted listening, and there's a bunch of ways to do it. Could the AI know that there's somebody in there and set that up so it was ready to go, tested? Because now, you know, I don't know what you're using for your assisted listening, but we're using the Listen Tech stuff. But now there's that new multi-Bluetooth, Auracast. Who's playing with that? Who's using it? Is it working? Ah. Yeah. So, yeah, that Auracast, I bought an Auracast box off Amazon and a few headphones to start playing with it from an R&D to see, because it's pretty, it could be a very low-cost way. So is Zoom, right? You could use Zoom as a low-cost way if you already have the license to do that same thing.
I was just going to comment on, speaking of Zoom, Zoom's application of AI is very impressive. And some of it is AI, the way it will, it will identify the participants in the room if they allow those permissions. It's an issue of provision, it's not necessarily. But also the ability to transcribe, associate comments with individual people, and then generate, if this is a meeting, generate a to-do list, generate talking points.
And the teacher can say, Zoom, give me a poll based on the content I just lectured. And you know, there were several of us, create a quiz and do it. And again, the integration of our AV with that. A couple years at EDUCAUSE, there were a bunch of us, and there was somebody from Gonzaga, I can't remember his name, that he's here, not Jeff, that's from Gonzaga. Him and I were in the room at some other schools with the Zoom product team, and they were talking about the roadmap, and I said, guys, our faculty would love to use the tools you have in Zoom outside of a Zoom meeting. They'd like to use them in the classroom, like polling. Guess what? Whiteboarding you can now use in the classroom without a Zoom meeting, but it's all connected to the class through the LMS, and everything can be done through the LMS, right? Our AV and our LMS worlds are merging, folks. They're becoming more and more integrated. But the same thing, the LMS has the roster, right, for the taking. And as part of that, the Zoom that can recognize students who are there is not doing facial recognition per se. Well, it is now for that Zoom thing. The student has to opt in, put a photo in, opt in, and then it can name tag them as well if need be, if they're in a classroom in a Zoom setting. But with that roster, it could see, hey, Johnny's here. You know, it might not recognize Hayden with the hat on, but you know, I didn't recognize Hayden when he had his hat and glasses on. Anyway, other thoughts here before we go on. Okay. I kind of mentioned, because we're a big Zoom school, that Zoom lecture summaries that Jim just talked about, the instant polling. They just released a note-taking tool. Ours isn't turned on in education because the Zoom lawyers haven't. It's turned on now. We kept harping at it, turn it on. Faculty were actually asking us for it. We didn't even tell anybody about it. The challenge with Zoom is they're innovating at a rocket's pace, unlike any in my 25 years dealing with ed tech software. Nobody innovates faster than they have and are. Anyway, all this stuff can happen in the classroom. So as we design classrooms, we need to make sure we're ready for that other tech, not just the cameras and the sound and the video. We got to make sure that we're ready for that tech. Okay, that Alexa video I was going to show you, the instructor can talk to AI, the AV system. When we first rolled out that Alexa in the classroom, some faculty thought it was creepy that they could talk and get the AV to do it. And they could say, turn the system on. turn the projector on. They could say, show my laptop, show the PC. They could actually do it by voice. It was really cool. We had some faculty who literally unplugged the device because they feared that it was listening to them and transmitting everything that was said back to Amazon. I was going to say Google, Amazon HQ, right? And anything. So there's always the skeptics, but when you think about it, you know, a faculty member, our touch panels, Jim, you're doing a session tomorrow on UI and UX. You know, sometimes our faculty still struggle with our good touch panels on what to do, and if they could just talk and say, hey, do this, or I'm going to do breakout rooms, can you show this poll or whatever, right? Maybe that AI and our system could integrate with Zoom and be able to just pull that up quickly and switch to it. AI cameras, we know Logitech has announced AI cameras. They're not out yet. Zoom has Intelligent Director where it can find who's speaking and take the best camera angle. You'd like put 3 cameras up front to get your audience, and it will, or in a conference room, it'll pick them out. There's other companies, Crestron has them, and I'm sure everybody's calling their camera an AI camera. And back to the point about is it AI, they were doing tracking long before. Okay, anything else before we move on to the next one? If you think of something later that we ought to think about, I'm looking for ideas. I don't have all the answers or ideas. All right, this is just a shot of if you have Zoom. How many of you have Zoom and have faculty using it to teach? Quite a few of you. You know, the Zoom AI companion, as they say, that'll take notes, it'll make to-do lists, it'll do meeting summaries. One of the templates is lecture summary, lessons and assignments, and it'll give an overview of what the stuff was said. When I was in school, I was a terrible note taker. I took lots of notes, but I could never understand them. I would have loved to have had this tool as a student. In this case, the faculty is in charge of it. They can review it before they hit a button and make it available in the LMS to the students, okay? But it's generated from our classrooms. All right.
Please. Computer?
Star Trek.
Computer. Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
The keyboard. How quaint.
Please.
All right. We're building AI oral assessment tools in the LMS that can actually talk to the student and ask them instead of them. One example is they write a paper. That paper's uploaded to the LMS. It's graded by the faculty. The AI oral assessment will now ask them questions about their paper, and it talks to you, okay? It talks to them and it asks them a question, and they respond orally to see how much they really know about their paper and their data and their sources. And the teacher can guide and set up the questions they might ask and follow up on, and then it does an assessment and it keeps a transcript. How long with this AI stuff, you know, people are talking to Alexa all the time. They're talking to Siri all the time. Who do they talk to on Android? What's the name for the Android voice assistant? Gemini, is that who they say, hey Gemini? Is that what they say? Yeah, I guess we're all iPhone users here, huh? How long before the faculty actually expect to be able, like that one, right? Star Trek, feel like they went back in time in our classrooms because they have to touch something versus talk, right? Okay, anyway, point 2. AV proactive technology support. The Pepperdine dashboard that I saw today was really, really cool. They use Extron. They are able to pull in data from Extron's system. On Crestron, it's the Fusion system. I can't remember what the one on Extron is called. Any Extron? Yeah, Golden View Enterprise, to bring that data in. And so they could see if a classroom was offline, they could click the box for that classroom and see a bunch of stuff. And they were pinging that. But one of the cool things I thought was that I saw there, they were also bringing in the schedule data for that classroom. So if there was a problem, they could click and see, is there a class right now, or is it available, right? And so that they could be a little more proactive. But I call this AV proactive technology support. I call it self-healing. How could we use this technology and AI, who we've trained on our classrooms, and that's where the AI part comes in. We've trained, it knows what equipment's there, it can talk to it, it can get data. How could it help self-heal? Okay? Let me show you something. I got this a couple of days ago. I was talking to one of our colleagues who works on the iLab group, and his group is responsible for going out and solving problems in the classroom. This is our top calls. This is Utah State for classroom support. You can see that in the instructor computer, it's whether the Surface Studio that we have or a laptop, 24% of the calls are for that, okay, at Utah State. Projector, 11.6, the display, audio, microphone, other, screen share, HDMI. Does this look familiar? Where are yours at? Would you say, what's your top support calls for your classrooms? Is it similar? Is there something else that's number one? The computer? Make them bring their own, huh? But they still have a problem. It's probably worse. It goes up.
I was just going to comment that I suspect that some of those other categories like projector, HDMI, those to me suggest, and display, suggest it's a laptop issue.
Yeah. I showed this today to one of our classroom designers and installers, and he says, you know what, a lot of the instructor computer calls, they're trying to show a video and it won't show up. Guess what the real problem is, guys? You know it. HDCP. Yeah. That's the problem, right? That's a hard one. And so we were discussing a little bit about what could we do. Could we use AI to auto-detect that? It's in the video stream, right? Jim, the Crestron or Extron would know that that's the problem?
Yeah, and we actually, so in the touch panels, we've enabled a button to turn HDCP on and off, because if you're not showing protected content, you can have issues connecting and showing stuff. But if you're going to show protected content, you'll be able to turn it on. But instructors don't know when to use it, when not to use it. So maybe an AI solution could figure that out for you.
It would know the classroom, know the technology, be able to, and maybe when they plug in or the minute they bring it up, it's constantly sensing and it goes, aha, this is not protected, this is protected, this is the mode I need to be in. Yeah. I was talking to someone who mentioned that there is a way, I got thinking, do we need to build an agent that sits on the classroom computers? If computers are the biggest problem, how can we use either AI or some sort of intelligent thing to solve that, right? And, because of security, all of our computers are in Intune and they're locked down, right? Admin access is, you don't get it anymore, Brett. But could we build something? And yeah, with Intune, you can go and remote reboot and do these things. But and what's the other common problem with a computer? If it's not video, what is it? It's like what I had. I didn't test my audio. I got talking to somebody, right? My audio's not coming out the HDMI because it didn't auto sense and do it. It's coming out the speakers. That was my bad for talking to the guys who were done presenting before me. But audio is an issue, right? Somebody has got the wrong output selected or driver issues, right? Could we build an agent or something that sits on that computer and is tied to our system and could constantly monitor that? Now, it doesn't help with the laptop that's brought in, right? But in all our classrooms, I think 99% of our classrooms at Utah State, we supply the computer. It's just a bad deal that Microsoft decided not to make the Surface Studio anymore, and our faculty love that digitizer. Any other thoughts from what you see here? Is there something that you deal with that's not up there when you have to go out to the classroom?
You see a lot of it for Zoom, I mean, like just tying into what you're saying, but it would fall into computer or other things, like the idea of like, I want to use it, you know, that kind of stuff, or I'm trying to do a hybrid class, or that kind of stuff. So how do you use all the technologies at once?
It's a training, more of a training,
Drop down, I need from what you said.
right?
Like they connect the computer to Zoom and present it, rather than the Logitech system or Meet or whatever in the room. That's more like just a user not knowing what to do.
Right. And maybe there's something we could figure out to do it for them, right? Or they could speak, or I don't know. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. We're going to put together a brainstorming group to start talking about some of these things. And we've got 2 developers full-time. We'll hire some student developers if we need to, and we'll try to figure this out and see what we can do. Can we reduce that? Because that is friction in the classroom for that faculty. And some of our faculty don't want to stay on the phone, because I see the messages in Slack. They say, hey, can somebody run over to Huntsman Hall 232? The faculty didn't want to stick around on the phone for us to do troubleshooting over the phone. They just want somebody there now. We have that. They're frustrated. They got to get class ready.
To go kind of to the same kind of, like, not a negative thought, but a counter thought is, some of this seems like we're trying to make AI solve a solution that probably has a solution.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be programmed. It's like someone looking at a nail and trying to figure out how to hammer it in just because they don't want to go find the hammer. Like, what's the heaviest object I have near me to hit it? And AI is the heaviest object to hit it at that moment. So the idea is, for some of this, to take a step back and say, what is the problem? Like you were saying, what is the problem that's being caused? If it's HTTP, is there a way for us to look at the problem, or is there a way for AI to solve it? Just asking, you know, like.
No, I agree.
Just a good question to take, because we are all hitting it with, like I said, the biggest thing we have right now with
Right.
programmers.
Right.
And sometimes that's not the solution. Sometimes it is a training or a UI thing, like you talked about, like the idea of maybe there's a fault in the room
Right.
that's causing this problem.
I agree. Yeah, good point. And I think that's why, you know, we need to do some further delving on this. What is the real issue? Is it they just don't know? You got to hit laptop button on the control panel, right? Right. It is a training issue, and Sean here for years was a facilitator training faculty, and sometimes they don't want it to come to any training, right? They just want it to work. And can it help us make it work? Or is it better UI, right? Is it better UI that simplifies everything with not too many buttons, or there's an advanced tab, right? I don't know. Agreed.
The best touch panel has no buttons.
The best.
Which was, it sounds silly, but I feel like that's reducing the complexity of the control is the goal, and alternative methods of control, like we were talking about the voice control project we did. It was not by itself, it was there in parallel with a touch panel. And you can see the status on a touch panel change as you split these commands to So it's also an accessibility thing. More than one method of control, because somebody's going to come in and not be able to press the buttons on that panel, or maybe not to be able to read it, because the way it's designed usually, poorly designed, that they're So, more than one way to do it.
Yeah, one of the challenges we face now, we have Zoom rooms and we have non-Zoom rooms now, right? And so we have, the thing I love about Zoom, and sorry for the Zoom, I'm not doing a Zoom advertisement, but it's what we got, right? It's what we got. We have QSys too, but the nice thing about it is the touch panel looks all the same, regardless of the vendor, right? For the Zoom room. And we can make Zoom rooms be regular rooms. Now that freaks out faculty. They walk in and go, no, wait a minute, I just want to project. I don't want a meeting, right? We have to tell them, oh, you just do share screen, done. And then they go, oh, cool, right? And they're okay with it. Well, where's my HDMI cable? Well, you don't need one. You just type in that code in your app and you're off and running for your in class. And so those types of things make it, you know, can be a challenge when you have 2 different interfaces. And none of us can afford to update all our rooms at the same time with new tech when it comes out, right? And, you know, we keep telling Zoom, you know, your UI, there's some things that you need to change. Let us hide the buttons or something, certain ones, because they confuse faculty. Like What's the but? Oh, if you walk into a Zoom room, don't start a meeting, but do a whiteboard. That whiteboard goes to the black hole when you're done. It's not attached to anybody. It's just gone. So it's useless to somebody, right? Because you could start it without a meeting. Other thoughts here? Good stuff. Ryan.
I thought of a solution to my problem. You walk into the room somehow through the computer system or something. So we have a professor that might teach partly on the in-room computer, but they brought in their laptop that day. So they say they know who it is based on proximity or whatever. And you're like, the AI says, Professor George, do you want, I see you brought your laptop today, and I also see you have a class scheduled. Would you like me to connect the class and start presenting from your laptop?
We bought one of these little robotic heads you 3D print, and it had AI you could connect it to. Well, we ripped out the chip once we figured it out and put a Raspberry Pi and have it go into OpenAI. Has a camera in the one eye. It could say, I can see that there's two people standing there, and one's got a blue shirt on and one's got a red shirt, and I see a window in the background. I was like, holy crap. So what you said, I see you brought a laptop, right? And, with the right kind of technology, it could automatically share that when it's time, when you think about it, right? Beyond the self-healing is the transparent technology. How many of you have gone to conferences for years in the AV industry, and what do they say? The technology should be transparent. It's not there yet, right? That right there shows us it's not there. There isn't a day go by that we don't get a dozen calls from classroom. Right.
Rebooted on this outfit. But Ping is such a kind of basic and blunt tool. It would be nice to have some sort of engine on the PDU that was analyzing some log file or something from a projector, from a control system to say like, oh, I don't like what I'm seeing here. I'm going to reboot this device.
I like that. Yeah. I know, Hayden, you've had challenges in the past where your network or your display over USB, right, have frozen. You've had to recycle them, right? Cycle them. And you build in something so you can remotely do it.
Yeah, I run QSys in all of my rooms, and so I'm able to web into every single device. So, like, I'm in the same position as Ryan. I've got 5 campuses remotely, and or even if I'm on site remotely, that's 3 to 5 minutes to get to the room or whatever. I'm just 30 seconds to web in. My core tells me exactly what's offline. An amplifier will tell me if a speaker is almost like that's how detailed the equipment I can get. And I can fix the room remotely completely, even if it's an in-room PC, reboot it remotely. I can disconnect and reconnect the USB connection and reinitialize that handshake. So I'm only 30 seconds to fix the room instead of 5-10 minutes with it. So.
Yeah, now if we could figure out to proactive it, that something's, it's monitoring it. It already knew it was off, but you don't.
QSys already has that. It's called Reflect.
And it'll ping you.
The whole dashboard and everything will show me what it is.
Yeah, now if we could just have it self-heal, right? Without, because you still have to go in and solve the problem.
Yeah, but.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
There are a lot of, almost every manufacturer with Ethernet connected stuff has some kind of a dashboard. And they're all really good tools. I did a presentation a couple of years ago on remote monitoring and so forth. The challenge comes when everything is the same manufacturer. So I've got, like we've got, as an example, QSys and Presto, different tools. We have Shure wireless microphones that have their own tools, wireless work with them. There's all kinds of stuff. And you can show your service desk people how to use all these tools, and they'll have 10 windows open on the monitor, but they have to log into a classroom, 10 different windows and find a classroom. So there's your AI application is to combine all those monitoring tools into one that the industry term is single pane of glass.
Yeah.
Which is my assistant for me, and I program something about
Yeah, and
identify the equipment and can do it on its own.
developing those tools now, when you have a skilled developer, I watched my son he's a mobile app developer. I asked him to help me build a new incident command system for a 206-mile single-day bike race that I'm a volunteer for, and we track the cyclists and their support vehicles and try to assist them using amateur radio, which is a hobby of mine. I watched my son in 5 hours vibe code, and he's a skilled developer, and deploy an entire fully incident command system in 5 hours. So with AI's help. Now, I graduated with a computer science bachelor's and a master's of instructional technology, but I don't code every day, and I haven't for a long time. They moved me too quickly into managing people, and I lost that skill. But I've been vibe coding now. I know enough to be dangerous, right? But in a matter of 5 nights, a couple hours a night, I built this whole geo-fencing application that connects to APIs. I didn't even have to tell it. I just said, I want to connect to this system, and they have APIs. It just did it and figured it out. It built me the entire mapping system with the open maps and put a mapping in. I mean, it was just like, holy crap, stuff that would have taken me hours to figure out. So we're not that far from being able to build these dashboards pretty quickly. And in the hands of like some skilled developers like I have and you have at your institution, the sky's the limit. I don't know where to go. Any last comments? We're at time. You guys were too quiet over here. Not a lot of thought here. You got the secrets, you're just not sharing, right? Yeah. Anyway, if you have any great ideas, there's my LinkedIn profile. You can contact me there or at my email address. Please reach out if you'd like to collaborate on some of these projects or, throw out ideas. Hey, Kevin, I got this idea. Jim and I were talking yesterday. We're going to get together and figure out. Jim knows Crestron, and that's what we have, and he knows it inside and out. We're going to put some brainstorm together with our team and just talk about, what's a low-hanging fruit that we could try first. Hayden.
I'll just mention too, everybody's been kind of focused on just software, what AI can do software-wise. It can even help you on hardware-wise. Like one of my auditoriums, we have a stage that we have maybe 11 people all the time talking, and they're tired of passing this mic back and forth. So I just was like, you know what? Let's use beam steering array mics, blast the stage, set boundaries. So if you step foot on the stage, your voice gets amplified, right? But we don't want them sitting on the stage or something. So just asked AI, hey, I want to design a custom microphone stand to sit off the back. Here's the specs of this. Boom, there's my STL file. Throw it into a 3D printer. Sits off the stage. I can put our custom logos on the back of it. Now nobody has to hold one of these stupid things. They just talk.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. If I leave you with one thing, keep dreaming. Don't be satisfied with the status quo, right? Don't be satisfied. Get to the root problem, right? We talked about that. And also, become friends with your LMS administration team and your Zoom, whoever's over Zoom. Your AV systems and their systems are merging, and they need to work together, and they got to be good friends. Have a good conference.